Welcome to Unscripted Believe at Noon, the podcast on Noon Miracle, where we sit down for real conversations that reveal the miracle in all of us. I'm your host, Amy Goldberg, joined by my amazing co-host, Violet Fink. And today, we're excited to welcome our guest, Phillipa Leseberg. Each episode, we get to know someone new, not just by what they do, but who they are, by simply talking and listening. It's all about connection, curiosity, and discovering the magic that lives in all of us. So let's dive in. This is Believe at Noon. Phillipa, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me and Violet. Phillipa, you are a Kiwi American. You are an author, you're an international adventurer, you're a juicer, you're a real estate broker. And clearly, and I'm using your words, you are a embrace your lifer. Where did your sense of, I'm going to make up a word, go-get-emness come from?
Well, first of all, hello. It's wonderful to be here with the two of you. So I think I've always been a bit of an adventurer ever since I was young. I can remember I said to my mom when it was coming towards the end of high school, I'm like, I just want to leave and go traveling. And that's a very typical Kiwi thing to do, is to leave and go traveling. And sometimes, young teens will do that before they start college. Sometimes they'll do college first and then go. It's actually called something in New Zealand, an OE, an overseas experience. And I said to Mom, I heard about this opportunity to be a nanny in New York. I just want to go. And she's like, no, do college first. So I did that. And then it started a whole different trajectory.
Where did you go before that? Before New York, you went to where?
No, I didn't end up in New York. That was just what I said to my mom. I wanted to go. No, I had to finish college first. I had to do
you finished
university
college first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So where did you decide to travel once the world was finally open to you?
Well, I ended up, I met a man when I was 23. I've been teaching high school teaching for a couple of years. And I said to him, don't fall in love with me because I'm traveling at the end of the year. I'm leaving. And he said, okay, let's just date then and we'll see how it goes. Well, we were engaged within 3 months and ended up married for 7 years. Now, during that time, I had a corporate career, and that did take me to a lot of international locations. And of course, my husband and we did travel a lot ourselves. And then when I was 30, we separated and then divorced, and I moved to London and lived there for 18 months. In fact, I was very close to Twickenham. I could hear the rugby shouts from the field on Saturday afternoons when I was trying to have a nap. And then from there, I moved to Michigan, 10 years in Hawaii, and I've been in Washington now for 15 years and travel all the time from wherever I am.
Wow. Do you have a favorite spot, a favorite location that you've traveled so far?
It's really hard to say I have a favorite because everywhere I go has incredible beauty. But I would say that New Zealand has almost all the most beautiful things I've ever seen in the world. You do find in New Zealand, and it's why it's such a popular tourist destination, because it's so tiny. It's the size of California and yet has pretty much everything. It has the English Lake District, the valleys of Wales, the Swiss Alps are in the South Island of New Zealand, the beaches of Australia, and just you name it, it's in New Zealand.
Wow. Do you think you'd ever go back?
I mean, it's possible. It's now been coming up 9 years since my late husband passed. And so I'm now ready to sort of, search for a new partner. And I'm actually going to be doing a lot of travel next year. And I haven't had much luck finding a partner here in Washington. So I'm like, okay, if I want an international adventurer, I need to go international adventuring. So I'm going to be going to do that.
What does that look like for you? Like, how do you do that? How do you just say, okay, I'm adventuring? How do you, and I want to get into the book that you've written. His name is Eric, but this, I want to find out about your venturing.
Yes. So I have some more areas in Africa that I would like to visit. I have some South American destinations, Chile and Colombia, Belize, a few of those locations. I have some Asian locations, and I just will end up just showing up and jumping on some tours or traveling around on my own, and we'll probably end up meeting people and travel with them for a little bit. And I'll likely end up in Europe, and who knows, I might live there. That's my goal, at least, anyway.
Well, let me know when you're in Europe and I'll
Yeah.
come pop over and say hello.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm thinking Italy or Portugal are my top two destinations at this stage. So I'll go exploring and see what happens.
I will happily meet you in both of those.
Yes, I bet. I would love to see you.
I was going to say, I love that you're still in an OE phase of your life. I think it's
I know.
something that never leaves you if you have that passion for seeing the world and making
It never leaves. And actually, that's one of the things that I mentioned in my book. His name is Eric. My husband that passed away, his name was Eric. And one of the reasons we got together was because we both wanted to travel together. And we just got to a really good place where he had a fabulous job at Microsoft. And actually, they were going to be sending him to a lot of international locations. And I'm like, woohoo, this is great. I can come along as the wifey and do my my little tours during the day while he's working and spa treatments and so on. And we were really looking forward to that. And that was a very big part of what the next phase of our life was going to be. But the thing is, and I'll just dive straight into it. When you get a cancer diagnosis, especially in his case, it was a stage 4 diagnosis from the very beginning, everything changes.
Yeah.
Your life turns on a dime. And now he couldn't go to the Seychelles, which was his number one dream location. He couldn't go to sail tall ships around the South Pacific, his big lifelong dream. He couldn't go to Iceland. And so when when my girlfriend and I went to Iceland, I would walk into a gallery and suddenly I would be looking at a painting with yellow, which was his favorite color. And then our song would come on, which is Chasing Cars, Snow Patrol. And he's been on these journeys with us, but just in spirit form, and unfortunately not as a human in the flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And Philippa, how did you meet Eric?
We met online.
Huh?
I was in Hawaii and he was based in Kirkland, Washington. And I was actually traveling, visiting family in New Zealand, and was Match.com. And I looked at some profiles that had been sent to me that day, and I'm like, oh, this one looks really interesting. He had some great photos of himself doing various activities, boating and jet skiing and running and all the things that I love to do. And he also, probably what caught my attention more than anything was that he'd done a lot of work on himself. He mentioned all these courses he'd taken, Landmark, Contacts Associates, Esalen, all the things. and actually had done work directly with Tony Robbins, he and a few of his co-founders of the company. And they had actually a guru on staff at their company as well that they owned. So I'm like, this guy sounds very appealing. And sure enough, he was. And we talked on the phone for 3 weeks, 1 or 2 hours every night before we met. And then he flew to Hawaii. I flew back from New Zealand to Hawaii, where I was living at the time. And then he was supposed to come over for a week and ended up staying for a month. And that was the beginning of a year-long engagement and a wedding in New Zealand 10 months later.
What, and how long had you been married?
We were married, we were all together for 8 years. And now he's been gone almost 9. So it's
Wow.
crazy to think that we were both so excited to have met each other finally. He was my 3rd husband and I was his 4th wife. So we figured with the 7 marriages between us, we were like, yay, we finally found each other. And we were super excited to not have to go through dating and finding another partner again. And dang it, he went and got cancer. After and I had Bella. Bella was 8 when I met Eric, and he told me after the first month of dating that if everything went well, and it was looking like it was sort of had good potential at that early stage, he said, I want to adopt her, and I just want you to know that that's how serious I would be if this works out. So we had actually heard about this particular clinic in Mexico. It's called Sanaviv, and 2 girlfriends had gone through a breast cancer journey, and they had gone to Mexico to seek alternative treatment. One of them started with chemo, and after the first night, the very first day they gave her chemo, she almost died. They brought the family in, and they were getting ready to say goodbye. And she had warned them. She said, "I'm so sensitive to drugs. Just give me like whatever you think. Give me half." And they still proceeded to give her the full thing, and it almost killed her. So she's like, "Okay, I'm out of here." Went down to Mexico to San Aviv, and happy to say she's cancer free and living a very solid life. She's written books, she's on TV, and she's really a gem to have on the planet, and very happy that the traditional methods didn't take her out in that first 24 hours. The other girlfriend also had a very aggressive breast cancer, and she also did try some traditional methods first. Didn't look like they were working, and hightailed it down to Mexico. So Eric and I were aware of this clinic in Mexico when he was first diagnosed, but he was in very bad shape. So even looking back, I would say I probably still would have fully supported him doing chemo in the very beginning, because he was very, very sick. And but looking back, because hindsight is a wonderful thing, I would say 3 to 6 months into the traditional forms of treatment, I wish we had gone down to San Aviv at that point. I think we may have saved his life. But what happened was he needed to make a decision, and he had to focus and just go in one direction. He couldn't do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So he was very focused on the traditional methods, chemo, radiation, and surgery. And he had a lot of surgery. He had a lot of chemo, 9 months of chemo, and he had some radiation a little bit along the way as well. So when the medical professionals said, "You're done. Sorry, we've got no other alternatives for you. You've got about 6 weeks left to live," we're like, no, no way. And so at that point, we went down to San Aviv. This was a Thursday. We found out about that, and by Sunday we were down there, and we had 2 incredible months in San Aviv. It's a functional clinic, and it's got doctors, there's chiropractors, dentists, there's a gym there, there's psychologists, there's energy healers walking around healing you energetically. It's incredible. And hyperbaric chambers, IV nurses doing IV drips all day long. And they drip incredible amounts of high dose vitamin C. And there's so much research to show. All you have to do is just look online, or these days ChatGPT, just look up high dose vitamin C and cancer, and you'll see it. It's everywhere. There's so many case studies that you can go to. And yet, do they do high dose vitamin C for cancer patients in most hospitals now in the US? No, they do not. Do they take care of vitamin D? No, they do not. Do they do all the things that we got in Mexico, the daily hyperbaric chambers, everything? It's just not done here. So the wonderful thing about that clinic, apart from the fact that they treat you like a whole person, is that everything is under one roof. So basically you have a day full of treatments, and you don't have to drive half an hour or sit in traffic and get frustrated and miss your appointments because traffic was so bad in Seattle, that sort of thing. It was all literally under one roof, in what appears to be a 5-star clinic. Or a 5-star resort on the Baja coast of California. Baja California in Mexico.
Wow. And so how long did this treatment prolong his life, Eric's life?
So we were down there for 2 months, and he was starting to get color back. I mean, when we first went down, he was very gray. He was literally, I know this sounds a terrible thing to say, but he was looking like death warmed up. He was very gray. See this color behind me in the painting? That's the color he was. He was not looking good at all. And literally within the first couple of weeks, he started to get his color back. He had brightness in his eyes. I mean, there's an example I can give you. They took his blood tests, as they do here too, but they look at your blood under a microscope. And when we first went down there, I remember seeing his blood, and the cells were full of like heavy rings of heavy metal, all nasty shapes and scary faces sort of staring back. And you could looked at the blood and it was like, whoa, this guy is really sick. And then 2 months later, we looked at his blood again, and it was like beautiful, round, healthy cells. And it's like, oh my gosh, in just 2 months, we almost turned around his complete health. But what it did do, because he ended up passing away 2 months after coming back from Sarnaviv, because he was already so sick by the time he went down there. And actually, they said had his iron levels been 1 point lower, they wouldn't even have been able to accept him. So he was already very touch and go in terms of whether they felt like they could do anything with him. But I just loved the way they treated him as a whole person. I loved the way all the professionals, and not just doctors, everybody got together every morning in a circle in the yoga room, and they spoke about every single patient, and they spoke about them as humans. They were all on board with their treatments and their conversations, the dental, the chiropractic, the energy healing, the doctors, everything. And so, and everybody knew us by name. We weren't like a bracelet in a hospital, a number on a bracelet in the hospital.
And
They didn't
and
ask his name every time they gave him, some food or a blood test.
and Philippa, did that inform your, or maybe you were always writing, but I know that this is part of your therapy. Did that inform your writing, and did this inform a new way of expressing yourself through health advocacy? Did this take you on a different direction
Yes.
with your experience? Yeah, can you just share a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. I think I've known that I always wanted to write, but I didn't feel passionate enough about anything specific. And it wasn't until Eric, I mean, we'd already had the 9 months, and we were in Mexico. And at that point, and I had done a few Facebook posts, and I had courage to do Facebook posts because the two girlfriends that I mentioned earlier that had already experienced Sanaviv, they were posting on Facebook. And I noticed people were fascinated about hearing about our story, and we got a bit of a following even before we went to Sarnaviv. And once we were down there, I just started writing, and I'm normally a morning person. At night, I was writing for 1 to 2 hours solidly on my laptop. I was writing just nonstop, and I was posting what I was writing every day on Facebook, and the following grew. And at first, Eric was quite shy about telling his story, and especially some of the intimate details about the cancer journey, because these are things that people don't usually talk about. And at first he was like, let me read your posts before you post them. And he would make a couple of changes here and there. But then people were making comments on Facebook, and I was reading to him at night, their comments. It was like bedtime stories. And he was so blown away about what people were learning and making changes in their lives just from hearing about his story and being inspired by what he was experiencing in Mexico. I mean, we had girlfriends say, oh, my mini tramp has been in the garage. I'm bringing it out. I'm going to jump on that so that I can clear my lymph system every day. Jump on that for 2 hours every hour. Sorry, 2 minutes every hour. Oh, I forgot about my juicer. I'm bringing my juicer back out. So we were really inspiring people with our stories. And those journals, and there was a lot of them, it was 700 or 800 pages of journals, were the basis for the book. But as you know, a journal, you can't just turn it into a book. I had to rewrite all the stories.
Yeah.
And I was doing a lot of work with this wonderful lady who does writers' workshops. She's based in Hawaii. And so I was working with her at various writers' workshops over the years, getting better at writing. Because as I say, journaling is not the same as writing a book. You just can't, because I was naive enough to think it was, but I did that. And then I worked 3 years with this wonderful editor, and she helped shape the book and form the book, and it ended up publishing December of last year. So it's December of 2024.
That's so exciting that it's been nearly a year now.
I know.
Yeah. Do you think you would ever write another book? I mean, this experience sounds so incredibly inspiring, to be around people who believe in holistic medicine and treat people as people rather than just patients and diseases to be cured. But is there anything else that you think you would feel called to write about?
Yes. Now, once a writer, always a writer, I think, and that sort of turns on the faucet. I have a lot of things. One that I've started working on is My Name is Phillipa. So my other book, His Name is Eric, is just focuses on the us meeting and then his through to his passing, and then a little bit after that. Um, and so My Name is Phillipa would be my memoir from my life, and just choosing some highlights and lowlights from my life's journey, and some, what might be interesting lessons for people to read. Also, I thought about doing a book of, in a way, people's stories that have healed themselves from cancer or any chronic disease, because it's not just cancer that the medical professionals struggle with. It's all chronic disease. I was diagnosed with Crohn's a number of years ago, back in the late 90s, and they had no clue what to do. They put me on 16 tablets of medication every day. And after 18 months of that, I'm like, no way, I'm not continuing with this for the rest of my life. So I took myself off medication back in 2000, at the turn of the millennium. And I've been medication free ever since, managing my Crohn's with juicing, smoothieing, and having a healthy diet.
Amazing.
There's so much to learn. So I think writing about people's stories and successes with their alternative treatments, especially when they've tried the traditional. So, because otherwise, sometimes people might look at some of the things that I say as I'm woo-woo, or I'm out there, or just weird. But in fact, there's so much there's so many case studies that we can share with other people. And at the end of the day, if you're a file number in a cancer ward, in fact, I just want to tell you this one story that I heard the other day. I was out just a week ago at a birthday party, and someone had heard that I'd written a book, so they were asking me about it. And they said their closest friend just died with cancer. And you know what her last words were? She said, if you ever get cancer, don't take the traditional route. She said, I was a file number for this last year. I was $2 million, a file that was worth $2 million to them. And they pushed me and forced me to do all sorts of things that I didn't feel comfortable doing. And I just hope that you don't do that if this ever happens to you or someone that you love. Now, I'm not saying that, that's always going to be the case, but I think the 2 million people that are going to be diagnosed with cancer just in the US alone this year, about 1.9 people will be diagnosed in 2025, and then another 1.9 million or so, maybe more, in 2026. Can you imagine if all of them said, no, I'm not just following the traditional route. I don't want to start chemo tomorrow. No, thank you. Give me a minute to think about all my options. I want to explore my options. But can you imagine if the hospital said, okay, we're going to do high dose vitamin C. We're going to do put you in a hyperbaric chamber every day. We're going to do turmeric drips for you to reduce the tumors. Imagine if they said all those things, but they don't. They have to follow their strategy, and that their hands are tied in terms of what's available for them. And so even if some of them are curious about other alternative treatments, they're not allowed to treat in a hospital environment. And and because of that, we're still very behind in cancer treatments. So many decades and decades and decades of research, and still we haven't made really much progress at all.
Well, I wish we could speak all day with you, Philip. And I know that, I mean, the fact that, first of all, you write and Noon Miracle was brought to you and you were brought to Noon Miracle is amazing that you're able to share your story. Thank you. And also that your next journey, I mean, is to travel and to do things that you love to do and search for, a companion in which to share your rest of your life with is amazing. So
Yes.
your energy and your curiosity, I mean, it's very inspiring. And so thank you so much for just sharing a tiny bit of, your experiences, and thank you for your book, because that's powerful.
Thank you. I really
Thank
appreciate spending some time with the two of you this morning. And I wish we could talk for hours more too, but I know we have to say goodbye.
Thanks, Philippa.
Thank you.
Thank you.